Alright, I've gotten to the point where the only thing left to do is to body work this fender. I'm going to save this since it's an original fender. It really wasn't all that bad. It buckled right in here. You can see this buckle in it here. This was out probably an inch or two in the collision. I just hit this right here with a rubber hammer and knocked it in. And now I've got to get this curve back into it here. Now that I've got everything fit on the car, I'm going to take the fender back off and dolly that out, hammer and dolly that out there, and also right here it buckled a little bit. Same thing there, hammer and dolly. This I've already worked out. I had to get this straight here to fit the hood and the headlight. That was just folded under a little bit. Actually took a little more work than probably looks like it did, but we going through grinding this off, get that ready for filler, and hammer and dolly this out, and this, getting that ready for filler as well. There's a little bit of a dent right in there, you see in the light. I'll also knock that out a little bit while I'm dollying the rest of it. Next thing will be just to get it back off the car so I can get behind it easily. You should be able to see the buckle real well there in the light reflection. I'm going to clean this with some wax and grease remover, just so I can see everything I'm doing. I'm going to get this more stable. Okay, that's what I'm going to be working out. Typically I'd use this body hammer, but since it's in this concave area, it's so low in here, it's really hard to use this type of hammer. I'm going to use my door skin hammer. This side here is a little bit rounded in this direction, so I can just flatten it out this way with this dolly right behind it. Alright, and this area here is sort of flat. I'm going to get the regular body hammer, and then I'm going to go back with the rounded end of it and go back over this crease, knock that ridge down. I've just got this dolly back here just flat against this area. And now I'm going to go take this ridge down with this pick end of it. It's not real sharp, it's slightly, almost a ball peen. Main thing is to get it just a little bit lower than the surrounding area. I don't think I got it low enough just yet. I'll hold the dolly slightly off the fender now so I can get this metal to go in. Just using the dolly as something to stop the fender. It's probably 1/8 of an inch off the fender, just as a backup. So slightly high right in here. This is not the only way to do this. This is just the way I decided to do it in this situation. If you go too far, you can always just knock it back out a little bit. This area here I can actually knock out from the inside. That's pretty good there. The grinder will take a little bit of the metal out, get it a little bit lower once the paint's off. Get this back in view a little better. Now I'm going to move to this area right here. I think you can see that. And I actually have to take this up from the back side, this little dip here. I think that's good enough for some filler there. It's really hard to get into this folded area here. Knock that out. Try to get a little bit of it with a pick. Alright, this area right in here is a little bit low on the outside. So I'm going to take a flat bladed hammer. It's right here. And go underneath right into that bend and flatten that out a little bit. Alright, it's out enough. Let me flip it over. Alright, I'm just going to clean this up with the regular body hammer. Just some of the little high spots out from hitting it from the back side. So it looks good enough. We're going to get it ground off now. Alright, before I grind the spots off for the body work, I'm going to do one more wipe down. The wax and grease remover over these spots. I don't want to grind anything into the finish or into the steel underneath. Give it a good wipe down. Alright, I'll let that flash off and grind the finish off. When you grind the finish, it's helpful to outline where you want to stop. This is where the panel is still good, out past this yellow line. My marker's about to dry out on me. It's just barely riding right now, but I'm gonna grind out to this line here, and then from this line out, I'm gonna run 80 grit on a DA back a couple inches to feather this finish out, because I don't want to put any body filler on paint, just on metal. Same thing here. I'm gonna grind from here to here to the yellow lines as a guide, and then right in here, all in this area. And everywhere outside, right outside that edge, will be feathered out with 80 grit to prep for body filler. Alright, this is a 3-inch roll-lock disc with 60 grit on it. I'm going to take the finish off with this down to the metal. Don't push very hard. You don't want to take too much of the steel off, but you got to get down past the finish. Get all the paint layers off. That's that. Alright, now it's time to do the DA sanding on the edges. I'm going to feather all those edges on the grinder marks out. From here. Feather all of that back a couple inches with the DA. I've got a, I believe this is a 3/16 orbit DA here. This is more for a fine finish. I'm going to use this 5/16 throw DA for this rough 80 grit finish I'm going to put in for the body filler. I'll use this for the primer step. This is 80 grit, 6-inch, 5/16 DA. Okay, I'm gonna go all the way around. I'll show you what I'm done. Okay, it's all sanded out. I'm gonna blow the dust off. Just over these areas I'm gonna fill. I'm just gonna get dust on the rest of it anyway. After I sand the filler. You wanna let the panels cool after you sand it, especially down to the metal like that. It heats up significantly. Set the body filler on there with the panel hot. It'll set up like that before you can even get it worked. You can let that cool for a minute. You can actually cool it with the air also. Then we can put some body filler on. Okay, it's ready for some filler. I've been kneading this tube for a while here. I'm gonna make sure this is mixed thoroughly. Separates pretty quickly on the shelf. I gotta move pretty fast. It's probably pushing 90 degrees in the shop here. This is about as much as I can mix before I lose the ability to work it. This should be about 2% hardener. I usually mix it with a stick, even though that puts a little bit of air in it. I can't mix it fast enough in this temperature with a spreader without it setting up on me before I can even get it on the fender or whatever the panel may be. So I mix it up really fast with the stick here, and I'll come back and work the air out with the spreader. Finish mixing it that way. This will be the first layer. I'll probably need a second layer after I sand this down. This should be the bulk of it. Make sure you don't have any streaks in this. Be thoroughly mixed. Like I said, I got to move pretty quick, so it's going to go on pretty fast here. You might not even get it all the way on. Spread it out thin so the heat that it creates does not set it off on the board here. Give you a little more working time. Right, that's good. Don't worry about being too neat as you put it on. Just mash it into the grinder marks that you put in it. It's already setting up on me. Yep, I have to do some more. Okay, I got the first coat of filler on. This is definitely going to need another coat. I could hardly get it on before it set up on me. I mixed up a second batch for the corner here. I actually had to add a little to the inside here to build up that corner. I got some here also. And you can't just leave out the hardener, the proper amount of hardener to slow this stuff down. If you know anything about chemistry, you know that's a bad idea. There's a ratio for a reason. It's got to have the same amount of hardener in a ratio every time for it to set up properly. I'm going to let this set up. I'll come back and I'll sand it down. Show you the sanding after it's hard.